Hey now, how now? This tells me we're live, and it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I normally have a co-host with me all the way from the UK, Simon, but he's sleeping at the moment, and we're going to be doing our normal show tomorrow. But it's my pleasure to have on our show this evening Brad Cook, all the way from Melbourne, Australia.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Could you hear all those claps? Could you hear all the claps, Brad? I bet you're missing the claps and the applause because you haven't been gigging for a while.
It's been a while, mate. It's been a while. Yeah. It's been a funny year of lockdowns and all that.
Any news on gigging live? Is there any news?
The roadmap out of stage 4 isn't very clear. I don't see us really gigging before next year, to be honest with you. That's just the truth be told. But that's all I can do at the moment. I don't know. Nothing's really come through to me at the moment. So we'll see. Next year, I'm hoping, restrictions come off. We can, book some shows and get out and perform. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I'm missing it like crazy, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that, Brad, because, I've done a little bit of research for our show, and, I'll explain to some of our viewers later on how I found you. But one of the key things on your bio, Brad, it's pretty clear that you're a professional gigging musician. You've got 15, 20 years, worth of that experience behind you. Clearly, that's your key income source, if I can assume that, for a musician. So, being in a situation where you can't do that, it's it's tough. It's got to be tough.
It's been the most challenging period of my life. Let's just put it that way. I haven't worked since probably April, or maybe I'm not even sure when our last show was, but I'm in a few bands where we play gigs and whatnot. So working bands that, rely on that as a source of an income. So it's been a very challenging time. And unfortunately, the governments and everything don't really sort of put their hand out to support musicians like they should, or artists in general, performers. We can go on for hours about this, but the reality is I'm just trying to think past this now and stay pretty much in the present moment, not really sort of worry about what's happened now. It's kind of, for one way or another, it's turned people's lives upside down. And it's definitely changed. Pretty much my whole world is turned upside down at the moment. So the positive side of it is it's like a reset button, and then we can focus on what's important.
Yeah. And I suppose what opportunity it's given us, as music fans and musicians, professional musicians like yourself, it's given us an opportunity to take advantage of social media to reach out and build some links and some networks that maybe we probably wouldn't have done beforehand. I'm certainly grateful for the friends that I've received and managed to connect with through social media. So I'm sure you're doing that as well, Brad.
Oh, look, I'm trying to connect with my audience that like what I'm doing, and I'm really focusing on that at the moment. So that being said, it's tough. I mean, a performer, as someone who goes out and you get an energy from a crowd. It helps you be creative. It helps so many areas of your life, and to not have that at the moment is pretty stifling. But the other way around it is I've been utilising social media to communicate with my fans, the people that actually like what I'm doing, and trying to grow my platforms. I mean, that's really a challenge too, but that's a whole thing within itself. You've got to put yourself out there. I'm not very good at doing that because I'm more reclusive type personality. I like to sit back and, you know, enjoy the moment. I don't like to put myself out there as much, but look, we've got to do it. It's part of it. So what comes with that sometimes is some negative stuff, you know, people sort of abusing that. So I've pulled back a little bit to a sense, but I'm still focusing on what's important, which is staying present with the music and aiming to put something else together for next year and relaunch what I've just launched, and have a second version of that come out with some physical products, go play some gigs, maybe travel overseas. Sky's the limit, but it really comes down to what restrictions we have at the moment, and this whole pandemic, like, that's affected everyone. So
yeah. Look, I appreciate you mentioning
social media is
I appreciate you, Brad, mentioning the negative aspects of social media, because, you know, that's something that you know, you come across even if you're just running a small YouTube channel. You know, it's easy for people just to jump on and make a smart comment or a cheeky comment. And I've spoken to a couple of cats over the last couple of years who are running YouTube shows, and, you know, sometimes it does have an effect on you. But this is one of the key things that me and my co-hosts like to reinforce when we do a show, is that, you know, as musicians, as music fans, we have a responsibility to make social media a positive place. You know, if someone's taken the time to play a version of Stevie Ray Vaughan's Little Wing that's completely different from the version that you play, why would you say that sucks? You know, because there's 20 ways to play a song. You know, if you don't like it, move on. Don't have a crack at someone. So that's one thing that we try to reinforce when we have our shows, and we're lucky that most of the cats that join us are positive. And there's a few people here saying hello. We've got Warren H, who follows us regularly, and Kubrick Lover from Canada. They're all saying g'day to you. We've got Adam Crofts saying hi. That's a new person. So yeah, we've got a few cats in the chat, so that's always good. At least it's not a two-person party, Brad.
No, it's good. No, Adam's a good mate. So it's good that you know, we're getting some people interacting, which is fantastic. So I mean, the positive sides of social media are we can do sort of things. You've got to sometimes let the negative go. The
yeah.
Sometimes people are you know, sending me private messages that are inappropriate for my situation in life and things like that. It's like, okay, well, I don't respond, but I've got to keep doing what I do. You've just got to limit what you put out to people, I've realised, and give them what's important, which is the music. At the end of the day, it's all about the music and what we're doing. So, you know, that being aside, I try to just don't give it any energy anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, talking about the music, let's focus on the music. Let's talk about the music, Brad, because that's what we're here for, and that's what you're all about. So, tell us about Brad. You know, go back as far as you want. You know, dig deep, and you know, tell us what inspired you first of all to play the guitar, and how you went about that, because, you know, that's always an interesting story.
Well, what's interesting about it is when I was maybe 8 or 9 or maybe 10, I don't even know how old I was. My family tried to get me to do guitar lessons, and the teacher at the time who was teaching me told them basically he's got no chance of ever becoming a guitarist, so he might as well give up. I wasn't into it at the time. I wasn't into music at the time. I wasn't really I loved music, but I wasn't into trying to learn an instrument or anything like that. I started fairly late. I got my first real electric guitar when I was about 17 or 18, somewhere around there anyway. And I wish I still had that guitar, but it was a Fender Stratocaster. It was a Japanese Strat, and they're pretty sought after now, so that's why I wish I still had it.
Yeah.
But I used it as a trade on my first real guitar, which was a Gibson-Les-Paul. So that being said, when I bought that first Strat, that guitar, I bought that guitar because for some reason or another, I just watched Jimi Hendrix at Monterey, and that changed me. It's just like, that's cool. There was something about the attitude, not necessarily, the performance was great, obviously, but the way he just executed that first, like on the video at the time, I think the first song was Killing Floor, and it comes out.
Yeah.
Like, just, there was such an energy there. It was rushing. It was like, I knew I had to play guitar then. And I must have watched Monterey. I think I wore the cassette VHS out. I think I wore it out watching it that many times. And the other one was Song Remains the Same by Led Zeppelin. So those two VHS cassettes at the time were pivotal at that point and defined who I am. And I was listening to all the music that was around me at the time, the Beatles, Clapton, Stevie Ray, all the stuff that, you know, I still listen to weekly now. But yeah, that I was self-taught for the majority of the first few years. I was out gigging within 6 months of learning, just learning songs. And at the time, we didn't have YouTube like we do now. So we didn't have the time, like I didn't have the opportunity to sit down and watch someone playing it and try and, I just learned everything by ear. So whether it was right or wrong, it was what I was doing at the time. And I got to a point where I was actually like, I felt really flat, like there was no chance of me progressing anymore. And one way or another, I was watching some other acts, Australian acts. I don't know whether you've heard of a band called Baby Animals over in NZ, but my good friend Dave Leslie got in, you know, I made a connection with him through his, and I got some guitar lessons from him, and it just took me from here to here as a player. Opened up my world as a musician. So, you know, I talk to Dave a lot, and I actually thank him all the time. Probably sick of hearing me say it, but if it wasn't for Dave, maybe down the track I would have expanded somewhere else down the track. But that was a pivoting point for me to take off, and we're working on songs like, you know, Jeff Beck, New Ways, Train, like from Jeff Beck Group, and Castles Made of Sand, Hendrix. That was what I went to him for. I want to learn this delicate stuff. I want to learn that, and you know, that was a long time ago now, and we've maintained a friendship ever since. So, but yeah, I was gigging from a young age. Probably underage, I was gigging in venues. Been playing guitar for about 6 months, and I was 17 or something, playing in venues like pubs that you're not meant to be in, and I don't know what year it was, maybe 95 or something like that. I met someone, and we started writing songs together. Her name's Mel Green, and we just formed a band called Smother, and the band was pretty much together for like 10, 15 years, and we were gigging throughout Australia. We pretty much bought our own bus, a 22-seater bus, and we didn't have a home for maybe 3 or 4 years. We just lived out of a bus and hotels and, you know, relatives' farms and stuff like that in between gigs. And we'd work 2 weeks straight solid, like gig after gig after gig after gig, and then a week or two off, then back out again. We were self-sufficient. We had our own PA. We did it all. We started off having a van and a truck full of a PA and a crew, and then we just, it was just, that was how I learnt my ropes as a musician, and I'm so ever grateful for that experience. It was, you know, we supported some fairly big acts in Australia here, and we had a ball. It forged my way as a musician. It made me realise that's what I have to do. And then moved to Melbourne, and the music scene probably wasn't as thriving as we were told it was, but we tried. And that band fell apart for one reason or another. And I just threw myself out there. I just thought, I've got to get into an established band. And I just connected with a few musos and Melbourne musos, and ended up in a band called The Eternal, which was a great band. They had a few albums out already. Probably I'm a little bit more rock compared to those guys, and maybe it wasn't such a good fit. So without sort of going into the you know, the nitty gritty of that didn't work out, and found myself writing songs for other artists, and I just got to a point where I went, you know, these songs, I'm trying to get these people to do this, trying to get the, and I've got a bunch of these songs that don't fit anything, so I'm going to work on those. So I started working on those, and they became what is on the EP, plus a bunch of other songs I haven't released yet. But that's pretty much in a nutshell, without going on for hours and hours about my music past. That's pretty much where it was. It's like I just got to a point where I never saw myself as a singer as such. Like, I'd sung in bands and covers and things and tribute shows and that. I've been a singer, but I just thought to myself, I'm sick of trying to get other musos together, trying to get it together. I'm just going to throw some vocals on myself and record it all myself and see what happens. And I did it. So here we are today because of that.
Well, I've got to say, I'm just going to share a screen here, Brad. So just give me a second while I just get this up. I thought I had it. Where is it? Brad Cook Official. Is that it? Okay, so that's Brad's latest debut EP, and you can find that on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, and Titan as well. So I've got to tell you, Brad, I'm blown away by your playing. It's phenomenal. I sit back, and I've shared that with a couple of other friends over the last couple of weeks, and the consensus that I've received from my friends who are blues nuts, mate. These are people that know what they're talking about. Just can't believe what they're hearing. You know, so I'm amazed that you're telling us that, you know, necessity forced you into being a singer because your vocals, so it's just as good as your guitar playing. It's So if this is something that's come out later in life, and I mean that respectfully, you know, it's something that's developed with your confidence, maybe, or you know, necessity's forced you into it. I think we're thankful to have that, because, you know, we've got your music, and it's inspiring. So that's a great story. Appreciate it. We'll talk more about your EP later on, but you know, I've seen you on Instagram just noodling. Now you've been noodling on a Stratocaster, and a couple of days ago you were noodling on a Les Paul. It's effortless. Your playing's effortless. Does that scare you?
Like, honestly, I'm chuffed because I don't see myself that way. I just play. That's basically that's what I'm meant to be doing. So I just pick up a guitar, and it'll be like, I don't know, just one of those things. I pick it up and I just start noodling away. I'm getting better at just jumping on live and things like that, and just playing. I've never really thought of myself as that way inclined, but yeah, I'm chuffed at what you've just basically told me. So thank you so much. I really don't know how to answer that. I'm pretty humble guy. Just do what I do best. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm good at, so I just work on what I'm good at, and that's basically, you know, I think that's what, I mean, we all try and grow as musicians, don't get me wrong, and I stretch myself, and I hear guys that kick my ass, and I go, man, I've got to get back on the drawing board and start practicing. But I've found myself in the last few weeks practicing more guitar than I have been in the last few years. So I'm actually finding my chops are changed, and I'm actually feel a lot more confident as a guitarist again, to on top of what I was. So, but mate, going back to your comment, I'm extremely chuffed. So thank you so much.
Oh, look, you know, I'm a guitar player. You know, like most of the cats that jump in and watch our show, you know, they've been playing guitar for a long time. Some of us for 30 years, 40 years. Kubrick lover, a very good friend of ours who corrected me. I said he was from Canada, who's actually from the United States. He's only been playing guitar for four years, so understands very well the spell that playing music does. And I think one of the good things that we have to remember as guitar players is that we're always going to meet people better than us, or, you know, have got some more chops, you know, and perhaps players who aren't quite as good as us. But what I like about meeting people who can play the guitar is, and this is no disrespect to music fans, because, you know, you have to have music fans, obviously, because they've got to buy the music and go to the gigs, Brad. But, you know, talking to a guitar player, they just understand a little bit more about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve and where you've come from. And they can hear, oh, I can hear Jimmy Page. I can hear some Cream going on there. And I know you're not ripping that off, but I just know that that's you. You know, when I first saw you riffing and playing some, you know, Stevie Ray kind of stuff going on there, it blew me away. Now, I know that you're not mimicking him, or, you know, it's just you know, who you are. You know, you've absorbed that style, and that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've always thought it's important to have your own voice as a musician. So your influences are always going to shine. You can't step away from that. But when you do your own music, you've just got to do what works within the context of the song. I think that's what's most important. And what goes on up in here is all that sound that I've absorbed over the years from all those artists you just mentioned. So they're going to come through somewhere. It's a nod to the hat, maybe, of them without even trying to. I don't know. I mean, you know, the playing that I did on this EP, I could have probably played a lot, like overplayed on parts, but I just kept it to suit the song. And if you listen to those greats that we've all discussed, they're that's what they did, is they actually played to the song. They didn't try to be this monster guitar player. They just played their instrument and played the hell out of it for the song. And that's, there's two types of players in my mind, and there's guys that play from the heart and soul, and then there's technical players that there's no wrong here either. Saying a technical player, I want to hang up my guitar. I don't want to play because I go, man, that's just outrageously hard. I love when players amalgamate that technical stuff with the feel, and then they just go with it. So, I mean, there'll never be another Hendrix. There'll never be another Stevie Ray. There'll never be another Jimmy Page. There'll never be another one of those type of people or personalities. So there's no point trying to be them. But if they've inspired you, they're going to come through the music. It's just, I don't know. That's just for me. If I write a song, I'm not trying to sound like anyone. I try to get what's in here out the best way I can, so people can hear what's in my head.
And
that's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, but that roots that you're talking about, that gives you your authenticity to people, to the fans, because that lineage is important, because you're playing blues, you're playing rock inspired music, which goes back to black guys playing blues in America, so and then we've got the English cats, Clapton at 20, picking that up, in the UK, and Keith Richards, and you've got Australian guys, picking it up. I think what that does, Brad, is it gives us that authenticity, and that's what we want, because I love lots of different guitar music for a lot of reasons, but I love the blues. I love the blues the most because it's self-expressive and it's real. That's what I like. I'm wearing a Dream Theater t-shirt at the moment, and he's technically, John Petrucci is technically a technical guitarist, and he's been described as being a mechanical guitarist. I'm not going to argue with that, because he is. But does that give some kind of authenticity to me? No, it doesn't. When you go and compare what he's doing to what your album is, they're completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting a bit of lag, Brad. So, sorry to interrupt, but is the stream okay, guys? I'm getting a bit of lag. Is the stream good? It might be my feed. So I'm sorry if it's going to sound like I might be interrupting Brad, because I think there's a bit of a lag there, Brad. So sorry if it sounds like I'm interrupting you.
Sorry, mate. I get technology isn't always our friend.
Yeah. Hey, so I mentioned earlier that I met you. I saw you. I saw you playing on Instagram, but I saw you on another forum, hanging out with a guy called The Riff, and I can't pronounce his surname. An American cat who has a lot of a lot of vintage gear, and he's awesome. He's an awesome guy. So you guys were talking a little bit about tones and gear and stuff like that. Is gear important to you, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, same Nick. I mean, I've connected with Nick outside of Instagram and YouTube, and we've done a couple of Skype things, run through a couple of lessons and things like that. Just great guy, but he I mean, his whole thing of vintage gear is probably not in my financial capabilities, but work with I think what happens is you've got to find your equipment, like get the best out of your equipment that you've got, and make it work for you. And I've been down rabbit holes of buying gear because such uses it, and then you get it and it sucks because it just doesn't. You've got to also remember that that particular person that's using that gear have unique hands, so you can't replicate that. So if you're trying to be someone else and you're trying to buy all their equipment to sound like them, that it's never going to happen. So you've got to find what works for you. Gear is very important to me. I go between less is more to a little bit more sometimes, but for me, you've got to have a really good bass tone. Like your guitar and your amp is where it's at for me. Everything else is color. So that's for me. It doesn't work for everyone, but
sure.
I've done gigs where my pedal board's shit itself and I've just unplugged, gone straight into my amp. I've still got my sound.
Wow.
Yeah. It's good to be able to do that. Yeah. I think what happens is if you've got a good bass sound, like when I say bass, like your foundational tones, your amp, your guitar, if you've got a good sound there, everything else comes with it. I play sound. If my sound's shit, I play like shit. I'm sorry to swear. I didn't know if we're allowed to or not. But,
no, that's cool. That's cool, man.
Crappy tone, I don't feel. Yeah.
So
that being said, I
So you don't use a pedal board?
I do, but they're more like I could unplug my pedal board, and I've got my guitar and amp sound that's my primary sound.
Okay.
So
okay. Yeah. Okay.
I've got a few guys here that I work with in.
Tell us about the local guys.
All right, so pedal wise, I try and use local guys. Because A, you can go back to them if you want something slightly tweaked, and B, you got to support the industry that supports you. And like, if someone helps you, they give you a good rate on some pedals to play their gear, then I push their gear and I make it work for me. Like I'm big into all those sounds like Univibes and everything like that. So I reached out to a guy named Sean Klinger who makes pedals here called Klinger Pedals, and I've got two pedals from him. I've got a Ravi Fuzz, which has got an Octavia in it as well, and a 69 Vibe, which is like a unit. They're fantastic. They work for me. I would love to go on vintage Univibe, but I can't afford it. So it's like, well, you work with what you've got. You get the best out of what you've got. And one of my good mates builds pedals. His name's Aidan Scher. I don't know if he's building pedals at the moment, but he built me a tube screamer type pedal. It's called an Axis pedal. I'll do a demo. Maybe this is easier. So this here, I don't know which way, this way. That's my Univibe pedal. That's my fuzz. That's the tube scream I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's just an amp switcher between the
wow
and a wah pedal. And that itself is like a delay. That's pretty much all I use now.
That's pretty basic, Brad. That's, and I mean that respectfully, when you consider a lot of cats, they've got huge pedal boards, that's, so, that's your tone there and your guitar, and then your amp. Wow.
Yeah, well, the signal chain on these pedals is not as it's laid out. It's just, that's what's comfortable for me to use. But I'll just pop that down. Yep. But yeah, it's I think what it comes down to is just utilize the gear you've got, make it work for you. So, like, I could unplug all that and still got my guitar tone. They're all color. So effectively, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pedals, and then a channel switcher on my amp, because I've got my amp, which I'll go into now. My good friend was Warren at Tone Revival Engineering. He's worked quite heavily on this Marshall here, and this is my main Marshall, this one here.
Yep.
And that's my main cabinet.
Yep.
So we had them out on the bench, like he had out of the casing. We changed capacitors, resistors, everything. But he spent a lot of time working on this. So it's not just your run-of-the-mill Marshall. It's actually a Marshall that's tough as nails.
Yep.
It's like a Marshall on steroids, but everything on here pretty much runs at 12 o'clock. I just leave it all at 12 o'clock.
Really?
And I've got a 212 box here, who's Dave Albrig makes cabinets, and that's a 212 cabinet there that I use for smaller gigs.
Yep. And
in this room here where I record. So that this combo here, that and that is what I recorded with in this is my studio.
Wow, really? So that EP that we listen to, that people are going to run out and download and buy and stream, that are currently in the chat or watching replays of this show, witnessing the room behind you and the amp behind you. That's the gear. There's no helix. There's no modeling amps. It's valves, baby.
I've got a backup amp, battery at bigger shows where I've got capacity to run stereo. I run well, but that one's pretty much standard. It's not modded. I just run it fairly cleanish drive, if that makes sense. Just so just breaking up tone and just leave that there. And the speaker cabinets, they're 25 watt Celestians. So they're greenbacks.
Yep.
25s, and they're the 30s in that one. And the Albrecht box is vintage 30s as well. So, and
what's your preference
on Instagram and stuff? It's usually for that.
Do you have a preference, greenbacks or your vintage? Do you have a preference between the speakers, the greenbacks or the vintages?
I like a blend, but if I had to pick one cabinet to use live, it'd be this one, the greenback.
Awesome.
They're just a natural creamier type tone for me. These the Celestian 30s are clearer. They're a bit more bell-like. They've still got warmth, but they're not the greenbacks tend to suit my style and sound a bit better. That makes sense. Yeah.
So is that why
I don't really want.
Is that why you're a Marshall guy? Because you've played Fenders in the past and you've made that progression to Marshall?
I've always used Marshall, and I've swapped around. I've tried Fenders. I've tried Peavey 5150s. I've done the rabbit hole thing, and it's just like all my heroes have always used Marshalls and Fender, obviously, but I can pull a pretty good Fender tone out of that amp as well if I want to. So what I'm saying is,
I agree.
Work for you. You know, you don't have to spend, and I'm not Stevie Ray. I'm never going to sound like him, so I might as well just get my own tone. That's basically what I go for. And I think that's the Fender thing. You've really got to crank the damn things to get them to sound anywhere near what they're supposed to sound like. And if anyone's familiar with most venues in Melbourne, for example, you can't crank your amp. So we've got this head here. So when it's a lot, it sounds great. So I mean,
yeah, look, I agree with you. I've experienced that too. Yeah, I've gone through the progression too, Brad, and I like to ask other guitar players that too, because it's an important part, you know, going through the progression. Because if you were given the amp that you love now, you wouldn't probably appreciate the fact that it sounds good because you haven't played all these crappy amps or these other amps, you know, beforehand. But I agree with you about Fenders. You know, I've had a Fender Vibrolux custom 68, and you know, great amp. But I got rid of that recently and picked up a Marshall Blues Breaker. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. The Marshall Blues Breaker for me has the versatility that I couldn't get with the Fender. I wanted to love the Fender, and before that too, I had Voxes. You know, I had an AC30, and they're all great amps. But yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. You've got to find what you want and make that work. Now, I'm not a gigging musician, Brad. I've always heard tones and sounds and records in my head through the music I've been listening to over the years, and I'm a tone junkie, but I could find through my Marshall the tone that I had been hearing over the years, if that makes any sense to you.
It makes total sense to me. I hear the similar tones that I've grown up loving coming out of my rig, more so than any other rig that I've ever had. Like, honestly, I'll never buy another amp ever again. And you know, I'm going to be positive here and put it out to the universe. When I'm successful, I'll go and buy all the vintage gear I can get my hands on just because I want to. But for what works for me, I think I've found my tone, if that makes sense.
Brad, there's a couple of things. Yes, you will be successful. I'm convinced of it, and you know, and I think we have to maintain some positivity, and yeah, you will be keep at it, and you know, the fact that you're humble enough to find your tone now and say, well, look, this is it. You know, that's an achievement, because you know, a lot of guys out there say, oh, you know, I don't know if I've got the right tone. You know, so you know, the fact that you've found that is a good thing. Getting back to tone, getting back to gear. Have you played any crappy gear recently, you know, like a cheap Squire through a cheap amp? And do you sound like Brad through that cheap stuff? You know, because we always hear this argument that Eric Clapton is going to sound like Eric Clapton with a cheap Squire and a cheap amp. And I've always had the argument, well, he might struggle. He's going to struggle to sound like Eric Clapton. Do you have an opinion on that?
I haven't used it. It's been a while since I've used different gear. The last tour I did, we had to use some backline hire. You know, we went into state. It was with an international show that came here, and I was the guitarist at part of that, which was a David Bowie show. His name's Lawrence from the UK, and
wow,
lovely guy and great show. And my cover band that I'm in, Rewind 80s, were the band for him. So I was using some backline hire, and that was difficult because one amp was really good, and then the next amp I used was really crap. So To answer that, I do think it's all in the hands, but you play a certain way when you've got a good tone. For me, if I've got crappy tone, I just feel like I'm a beginner, because I get that. I think it's a marriage between your guitar, your amp, and yourself. It's a three-way marriage. So you're getting that connection harmonically with all that, and I don't know, when my tone's good, I feel like I can play anything. When my tone's crap, I feel restricted, I make mistakes. It kind of just comes with the territory for me. I've got to have good tone.
Can you give us
if that answers your question, I'm not sure, but
no, it does, and I appreciate that, because it's a question I like to ask. Do you want to share with us your thoughts about the video that you've done, and you put some clips of the guy filming it, some post-production clips, and that looked interesting. That looked, that looked pretty good. So you want to give us a bit of a idea on how you went about, designing the set, to how you were going to present yourself in the video. Give us a bit of a idea on that process, please.
Yeah, sure. He's turned into a really good friend. His name's Ian Ritter, and I met him through reaching out on social media, asking for someone to help me with a website, logo designs, and videos, basically like media stuff for social media. And I went through that. I knew of him in the past through other things, but I've never met him. And we're in what we call lockdown mode in Melbourne, Victoria at the moment. So we're in stage 4 at the moment. Between a 4-week lockdown and then a 6 to 8 week lockdown now, whatever it is. But I needed to get videos done, and all my ideas for all these weird, wonderful videos that I had in my head, we had to put on ice because we had to rush a couple of film clips out. So I asked him if we could manage to get 2 clips done in a one day, and he said, let's do it. And I just said, creative control, you want one in color, one in black and white. So the 2 songs I released as singles, creative control was handled by Ian Ritter, who anyone wants website done, social media content, video, he's your man. I mean, my website, if you look at my website, he did that. He did logos, which, my Brad Cook font and the wings that I'm wearing now, he did all that. But we worked closely together on the ideas. He went ahead and understood what I was trying to achieve. So, but I've been quite fortunate. The photographer that took that photo on the album, his name's Jowie. He's amazing too. So, they're all local guys here in Melbourne, and I try to support local businesses and local musicians and whatnot, because I think it's important to support the people that support you and the industry. It's I've been quite blessed, and I'm extremely grateful that I've got a lot of good people in my corner. So, but yeah, we've created a brand and an image that we're pushing, and it's a bit of a lull right now because obviously we can't gig, I can't sell physical product. But the video clips, going back to that, I just had the idea. I had to throw together a band for it really quickly too. So I just reached out to a couple of really close mates to help me on the day, and they only had like 1 or 2 days to get their crap together to know the songs and look like they were playing them properly and things like that. So big shout out to my mate Nick and Jacko for jumping in there. It was really quickly done, but I don't know if you've watched both videos in their entirety, but they're just amazing. So I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
They represent exactly what I'm trying to achieve.
Okay, so just hold on then. I'm just going to go to your website and we'll just play a snip of. Just give me a second, guys, while I navigate. Hold on there. Hold on. Let's just see what's going to happen. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, it's not working. Hold on, Brad. Hold on. Okay, you do some talking. You do some talking while I get that video up. Just hold on. I'm going to work on another screen that's not working.
No
Yeah, I thought the video was phenomenal. I like the fact that it seemed like it was just how you would be on stage. And does that make any sense? You know, I didn't get the impression that you were being over dramatic. You know, yeah.
That's pretty. I'm just trying to come from an honest place. I'm not a show pony. I just do what I do, and that's pretty much. These songs are all written from the heart and soul, so it's kind of like I just wanted to video clips make out that that's the way I was portraying them. It's like I mean, you have to understand, I've never actually played these songs live yet, so I haven't had the.
Oh wow.
I'm not fortunate enough to be out playing yet, so so that was spare of the moment. We had to throw it all together very quickly, and we found a location within a day or two that would allow us to go in there, because we were we'd just come out of like a stage 3 type restriction with the COVID thing, and I needed to get these clips done, and lucky we got them done, because like within a matter of weeks we got locked down again into stage 4. So I mean, releasing music in this time frame has been extremely difficult as well, because you can't get out and back it and do what you normally would do. So but you know, the benefits of social media, we can connect with people on a different level. But you know, getting out and performing is something that, you know, it's always a dream for a muso to play your own music. Like, I love playing covers, don't get me wrong, but playing my own music is going to be far more rewarding, if that makes sense. In the long run, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let's just see if this comes through. So just hold on.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool, man. That's not bad. What do you guys in the chat think about that?
It was a really fun day, and I'm very proud of those clips. You know, I don't think we could have done them any better than what we did. I'm a minimalistic type guy, and I like the fact that we managed to do 2 film clips in the one day, and same setting, but they look different as well, which is great, you know. And I'm just grateful and blessed. I've got really good people in my corner, like my mates, the drummer and bass player that just jumped in 2 days before and said, yeah, we'll do it. And it was about 2 days before, and I'm sort of going over with this and that, and we managed to do it. So yeah, just goes to show I've got some pretty good people in my corner.
Yeah, well, I'm blown away by it. I think you know, if you sit back and listen to the guitaring, yeah, that's just phenomenal. And I want to go back, you know, earlier, you know, at the top of the show, you said, you know, that
Yeah.
you know, being a vocalist isn't something that you've always done. It's something that you've, you know, that's been forced upon you by necessity to do. Wow. That's not bad for a beginner vocalist, Brad.
I've sung in cover. Thanks, mate. I've sung in cover bands, like and I still sing 1 or 2 songs here and there with one other bands I play. I to that in a Doors trip band. I was the vocalist in that.
Oh, okay, cool.
That gave me a lot of confidence as a singer. But yeah, but I took a bit through this recording process because I realised what I was comfortable singing and what I wasn't. So I just went with what was comfortable.
So there was no.
Stretched myself at times.
I'm just reading, catching up in the chat because I've got a bit of a lag issue here, which is interesting. So the guys are saying that there was no sound in that clip, which is a bummer. Did you hear any sound?
I couldn't hear it from here, but I was assuming that it was coming out on YouTube. But
okay, that sucks. All right, look. All right, look. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I don't know why we didn't have any sound coming through on that, but can you please, you know, check out that video and check out Brad's EP, please. Sorry, I'm sorry, Brad. I thought I had that sorted.
That's all right. Just go to the website, guys, and my 2 video clips are up there at the moment. And yeah, so jump on there and have a look around, and sort of everything's there. All my social media feeds are there as well and stuff like that. So yeah, no, that's fine. I wasn't sure whether that was coming through it.
No, apparently it's not. I'm just catching up with
I mean, I'm really proud of those clips.
So obviously when this lockdown process is finished, you're going to be in a situation where you can take that EP out on the road. So I suppose you've got to see that as a positive. It's going to give you an opportunity to build, and then when it happens, bang, you'll be out there and like a cannonball. That's got to be the thinking, surely.
Yeah. Well, I've held off on physical product until I know I can start gigging, and then obviously once I can start getting out playing this stuff live, I'm going to launch like a CD, maybe a vinyl as well, and obviously ramp up my merch sales, like t-shirts, hats, that sort of thing. And so kind of like a relaunch, if that makes sense, on the product that I've already released. Plus next year I'll have something to release as well. So be able to do some sort of, double banger. So sort of, I'll work that out as we get closer. But so I put it out there. I'm growing my community of followers and the people that like what I'm doing, and growing that connection with them. And then obviously, when I get out and start gigging, at least those people will come to the shows and be grateful to hear new music, hopefully. So that's kind of the positive side of it. That's the way I'm looking at it now.
Yeah. Well, look. I think you have to, and who knows what the future holds for you, Brad. If you ever come over, if you've ever got an opportunity to play here in New Zealand, it'll be cool to catch up and hang out. And obviously, Europe or North America has to be something in your plans. Are you prepared to do the hard grind once all this crap is over with? Are you prepared to just tour through America and see what happens? Is that something on your radar?
Definitely. In the back of my mind, I'm just keeping all options open. I'd love to get out and play this material into some other countries that appreciate this style of music as well. Because Australia, the market's pretty small, I think. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe Australia can prove me wrong. I feel that maybe I'm connecting with more people overseas than I am here in Australia at the moment that like the music I'm playing. So, put together a band and make it across. But I don't know, maybe I'll just meet up with other musos over there and get them ready, rehearse with them and play shows with them. And because cost effectively, it might be easier just to, say, go somewhere in America and have a bass player and a drummer, connect with them and go play. Or, I mean, that's the beauty of doing something solo. I guess you can either take your own band across or connect with people overseas and do that. And then maybe I can have a rhythm section in all different parts of the world and cuts costs down. Yeah. I don't know. Sky's the limit. I'm trying to think outside the box at the moment because to travel is quite expensive, and to do it as a solo artist, the people that I'm playing with need to be part of it, or they're just players that are coming along for the ride. So I don't know yet. I haven't sort of thought about too far ahead but it is something in the back of my mind. I want to take this definitely throughout America, North America. I'd love to get across to some of this. I've got like 2,500 followers on Facebook, and the majority of them are from overseas. Like that. In all fairness, I've got a very small following here in Australia. It's more overseas. So we'll see. I mean, I've got a lot of followers from other countries, and maybe it's a good opportunity to go connect with them.
Have you thought about getting some kind of sponsorship deal? Is that an option? I don't know how that works. I've just seen other musicians, have been lucky enough to get some kind of sponsorship deal to help with the costs. Eventually when you can tour. Is that something that that you could look at? Is that something you would organise yourself, or would you hire management to do that? Because again, that's another cost too, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, original music, there's not a lot of money in it, so you've got to work out what's best to go out and be cost effective. I'll look into all options. I'm open to, if anyone watches this that wants to help me as well, by all means. But they've got to be a serious promoter or something, or I'm not going to take it seriously either, because there's a lot of people that will say, "Oh, I'll help you, I'll do this, do that," blah, blah, blah. The proof's in the pudding. They've got to have the backing, and they've got to have a track record of it before I trust anyone to do that, because I'm not going to throw myself in a situation where someone says they can help me and then I throw myself into it and I end up in the middle of nowhere with no money, no help, no. I wouldn't put myself in that position. I'm too sensible for that.
Okay, so can I just do a bit of a shout out, Brad, while we've got a bit of an opportunity? There's a few guys in here saying g'day to you. We've got Nelson Rodriguez, my friend and co-host from the UK. Simon is saying good morning. Warren H, who's a fellow Australian in the chat, he's saying hi to everybody. Kubrick Lover, who corrected me, he's from North America, saying hi. We have Rick Hefner saying hi. Your friend Adam is in the chat, offering some comments and some support, which is always cool. And I think we've pretty much covered everybody in the chat. We've got 11 people watching us. I have to ask this question, Brad. So in the photo there behind us, you've got a Les Paul. In your video clip, you're playing a Strat. Do you have a preference?
More of a Les Paul guy, but over the last few years, I've really connected with Fender as well. I've always played my Strat a little bit at home and things like that, but I'm more comfortable on a Les Paul than a Fender. But it's changing because I'm starting to get really comfortable on the Strats as well. I like being able to do both things. I like being a Fender guy and I like being a Gibson guy.
Have you got any guitars there handy, close by? Have you got anything close by to show us?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. We
here
love looking at guitars.
Is my 79. This is my 79 Fender Strat, maple neck. I've made a few mods to this. It's refinished. It's this one. This is the Fender that's on the recordings. This guitar. So I've got a couple of Strats, but this one is my main recording Fender. And it's a 3-bolt neck, so it's not, the most sought after Fender, but it's just thing about it plays really well for me. The neck I love, and it has a big tone. It just has a really big resonant tone compared to other Fenders I've got and play. So that one there is pretty much a keeper for life. Obviously, I want to get some vintage Fenders moving forward, but for now, I mean, this is vintage anyway. But what I'm saying is, I want to get, maybe an early '60s with a rosewood neck, and a lot of the guys I love. And we spoke about Nick from the Riff and things like that. Like, he's got some beautiful guitars, and I've got gear envy of guys like that. But I'm very grateful to have this beautiful guitar anyway. So it's this one here is that film clip you were showing. This one and my black Fender, which is in another room.
Beautiful.
But this one here is the guitar that's on all the recording, the EP. Any Fender Strat you hear on that is this guitar here. And
awesome.
Did you want to hear some? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. It's your show.
I don't know how loud this is going to be, so we'll see. Okay. I'm not warmed up, so just forgive me if there's a few muff notes. So yeah, that's pretty much this beauty.
That's beautiful.
I'll show you
you can't go wrong with the Strat.
My main pride and joy. It's a beautiful guitar. It's This one here is the one that's on the album.
Yeah.
Cover.
Yeah.
So I think it's a 99 Gibson Les Paul. It's 1960 reissue.
Wow.
And I'm very grateful to have this guitar. It's done every single show with me, this one, since 1999. So it's in good nick. I look after it, but you know, I try to baby. I've gotten past the babying years with my guitars, but I you know, it's just one of those guitars that this guitar, whatever amp I plug it into, I can always pull decent sound with it. So there's just something magic about this guitar. It's got a nice low mid, and
Hey,
this one is on my single.
Awesome. Simon's asking what's in your chain. So I know that you showed us your pedal board. Well, I might be cutting you off because of the lag that I'm getting, so I'm sorry about that. But do you just want to run through again what's on your pedal board for Simon, please? He's asking what's on your chain.
Okay, so this is my straight in tone. This is just guitar, amp. That's dry, that's just the guitar and amp. Then I've got like a slight reverb on the Strymon timeline, which goes into the loopers of the Marshall. Hear that? I've got the 69 vibe, which is like a univibe. I just had that just slightly in the signal. That's turned up, the intensity turned up a bit more. Obviously, like a gibsonlespaul, just do that. It just lifts the signal a little bit. I haven't got it set like as a distortion. It's just more of a volume boost with a slight bit more gain, so you can do the
Wow.
So you can get the feedback and control that. But I'll do the solo in Planet of Love for you so you can hear what I used. I pretty much just used the guitar amp. So yeah, that's pretty much, I keep it simple, if that makes sense. And I've got a wah pedal, which obviously knows what a wah pedal does, so yeah.
That sounds awesome.
That's I keep it simple.
Yeah, so everyone in the chat's
all about,
saying people in the chat are very impressed. You know, Simon's saying it's great. Elaine Ellen from Sydney saying that she loves your shirt and your guitar playing, and she wants more songs. So yeah. So that's pretty good. You've got some fans in Sydney.
Yes, I know Ellen. Ellen's my mum. Hi, Mum.
Oh.
And the other guitarist, the other guitar I used is another. This one's pretty much. It's almost like a tone-wise. It's so close to the other one that it's like my backup guitar, but it's actually become my main guitar lately. And it's a full top too. I mean, look, that's sexy as so.
Beautiful.
But this one's early 2000s as well, but it's a 60s reissue. So all my guitars are, you know, from the late 90s or 70s, late 90s, and this is the probably the most common one I use, which is year 2000, I think. I'm not sure even how to work that out, but yeah, I bought it in 2001, I think, this one, when I come back off tour. So it pretty much... Just got that tone. What can I say? They're I'm quite grateful to have these guitars, you know. They're I sit and I look at them sometimes and I feel extremely grateful that I've got them, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
They just they bring out the best in me as a player, and like I said, if you've got good tone, you play better. It's I'm happy with the sound I've got. It's very reminiscent of the era of music I like, and you know, I can push them a lot harder if I need to. So yeah, what more can I say? It's I'm just very grateful to have them. But I'm seeing. So yeah, I mean.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that. So obviously you're a Les Paul man, and but happy to have your Strat there by your side as well. That's yeah, you can't go wrong. I look, I'm a Stratocaster man myself, and I have been for a long time. And I recently, only last year, got a Les Paul, and you know, you've got the bases covered, haven't you? With both the guitars, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. I think with the on a lot of my songs, I tracked with a Les Paul and a Strat together, and they work really nice together in a recording sense because they're the same sound. So, like, I could double a guitar riff that I did, for example. When I played that on the swell with the Les Paul, it just sounded right. So I double tracked, like most of my recording, there's probably two guitars, I think. And I just found the Les Paul and the Strat, it's a great marriage on a recording set. make them work together, and it brings out the good out of both guitars. It makes sense.
So just tell us a little bit about how you went about, recording yourself, and getting familiar with the software that you needed, and miking, and was that something that that you studied, intensely, or was it just something that you managed to pull out of the hat and get right from the word go?
I've got Pro Tools on a computer system here, and I've had a few years of like demoing stuff with Pro Tools. It stems back to my my time with the Eternal, the gentleman in that band that I was connected with at the time. He got me into Pro Tools, and I've spent a lot of years just and working with tools at home, and I know my way around it. I'm not an expert, but I know my way around it enough to help me record what I want to record, and that's really matters. I don't need to be an expert. And then the EP itself was mixed and mastered in the studio called Color Sound, and my good friend Matt Robbins down there did an amazing job just mixing and mastering it. So the idea of how I record is I do my basics here, and then I take it into a studio to mix and master it. And it's just been a really good process and really organic. The guys I work with, like the studio, he knew exactly what I wanted out of a mix, so he helped me get it. It was just a really good process. Though my music is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of tricks and stuff in there. There's not a lot of effects and all sorts of things. So all that you hear in my recordings comes from Matt Robbins, so at Color Sound. So I was giving him what I'd recorded here, and then he made it sound how I had it in my head. It was amazing. So yeah, it's just been, I mean, the process of recording on my own, it's just been through trial and error, and I found a system that works for me. I think once you find a system that works for yourself, it's like the old story: if it ain't broken, don't try and fix it. You can make improvements along the way and try and get sounds and things like that, but you've got to be realistic and go, well, that's the best I can do right now, so stick with it. I am, and it's a motivational. He's a gym guy, but he's very motivational, and that this relentless momentum type thing is like, just keep going and what happens. And if you've got hunger, you're going to get through, and you're going to get the good sounds you want. You're going to get what you want, and the best you can do at the time. I could have went down rabbit, recorded everything on this EP again and tried to perfect it, but what's the point of that? Like the guy at Color Sound, Matt, was like, I played him my songs, and I said, should I try and better that? Should I? He goes, why? You've done it now. Get it out and keep doing it and keep improving the way. Like, don't sit on this for years and go, I should have released it. Get it out and do it now. Like, so he was a big point where I went, okay, I'm going to do this. He was a big turning point for me as well. So another plug there. Color Sound in Altona in Melbourne. If you're in Australia, he's in it as well. But I reckon if you sent him your files, he would just mix and master them for you and things like that. So I don't know if Matt's ever listening to things that I'm doing, but yeah, I'm always plugging him as well, because like I said, you've got to support the people that support you, and he looked after me, and we're good friends, and he did an honest job fixing and mastering my, moving forward, every bit of music that I'll be doing, I'll be going back to him, because it just works.
You and I were talking before we went on air about you sharing any links that you have with the local builders that you've been working with over in Australia, and people that have helped you with your EP. So, send those links to me, Brad, so we can edit that and include that on the video, because it's tipping the hat to the people that have helped you, and who knows, somebody might want to take advantage of those contacts, because that's what it's all about. I appreciate the fact that you've decided that you're going to make this something that you want to pursue, because you don't want to be in a situation, and I've spoken to a couple of guys recently where they think that they should have done something but didn't. I interviewed a guy from the UK not long after Peter Green passed away, a guy called Dave Simpson, who has a presence on YouTube. And he said to me live on air, he said, this is what it is, Andrew. He said, there's no fallback plan. I've got no fallback plan. This is my life. So I acknowledge, the courage that you guys, take, because it's a big decision, to go out there and play music and push original music too. That's not easy. So you'll have to keep us in touch, Brad, and come back on and be a friend of the channel and let us know how things go. And I'm happy to have you on any time that you want to, and maybe you can jump on with my co-host. We normally do a weekly show on Sunday evenings, Brad, and it's normally about 5:30 New Zealand time. So it's probably going to be a little bit later for you. So jump on. I know you've got a bit of time up your sleeves because you're still in lockdown. so there's always that opportunity to come on and share some more of your stories with us, and get some more questions from some other cats who probably would be regulars on that time slot that would be interested to have you on and fire some questions. So if you want to do that with us, feel free.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be more than happy to. I'm just, this lockdown period has been hard to be creative. So it's good to be able to do other things that inspire you as well. And I find doing these sort of things inspire me to be creative again. So, most of the music that I've written during this period needs work. I'm not entirely happy to release it at this stage, but what I release next year will be even better again. I can guarantee that. So I'm focused heavily on just improving my songwriting, and that's probably what all artists do, is try and write a better song every time you pen something. You want to try and be as pure and as possible in your songs, and it's hard to do that in a period like this at the moment. Some days you just don't want to get out of bed because it's you're like, wow, what's happening in the world, but when you're inspired and I'm playing all the time and connecting and things like that, it inspires. So definitely take you up on that. You get off these things and you go, right, I'm going to write another song now. It's just like it all inspires you to connect again with the instruments. It's and I appreciate you inviting me to do that.
Do you just want to give us a bit of a quick rundown on how you go about your songwriting process? You know, because you know you've just brought that up, so you know that's always an interesting thing that Simon and I and the guys in the chat, you know, like to think about. You know, what inspires a musician like yourself? You know, is it the lyrics that come first, or is it the music? Just tell us how you go about songwriting.
Yeah, sure. I find the song I come from me and guitar, really. Like talking about the Fender Gibson thing before. So, say for example, on a Gibson, I'll just explain it. Like, say, Planet of Love, first single I released, I was just jamming in a blues, I was just kind of, and then I just started to change it around, and I came up with that riff. And then the whole song just came from that. Like before I knew it, I like within 10 minutes I had the whole song written.
Wow.
Musically, and then lyrically that song happened out of a conversation I had, and I said to her at the time, I said, where'd you come from? Where'd you go? You know, where you've been hiding, I'd like to know. She said, they're lyrics for a song. And then I just started saying more stuff. And I remembered it word for word what I said. And I went home, wrote it down. And it fit straight over the top of that music. Like, oh, well, that song's done. And it just stayed that way. And that things like that happen for a reason, I think. And you don't really force it. Then other song ideas came out, like, say, for example, okay, Planet of Love, you know, like the whole thing, my influences, like, we spoke about the Jimmy Page thing, you know, the Stevie Ray, the Hendrix and all that. I listen back to it, I hear it then, I don't hear it at the time. But like for example, you know, that to me, I can hear like Richie Blackmore or Hendrix even, you know, like you know, the Speed King, whatever that is, right? But I didn't hear that when I wrote that song. It was just, you know, and the rhythm part.
Wow.
And the solo is like very Stevie Ray Hendrix, and then when I went to the key change, I thought very in my head I pictured like very Lenny Kravitz, Craig Ross, someone, you know, like, but so they were specifically written solos. They weren't like, I mean, I didn't plan to break it down like that at the time. When I listen back, I can hear all the influences there. But that song came from just playing on guitar. And most of the music comes first for me. Not the melody, vocal melody comes later. Some songs I worked hard on the vocal melodies. Some just happened. You know, like the Strat song, Shake, that came from just, for lack of better ways of putting it, just jamming on I was just doing a lot of like. That, and then it just sort of happened that I fell into and then the natural thing for me was to come up with a change. It's going to go somewhere. So on. So ideas come from me just feeling on a guitar. Does that make sense? The songs, I don't set out or intentionally think I'm going to write a song that sounds like this, or I'm going to write a song that sounds like that. They just sort of happen. That's
wow.
That's a long way to explain the process too. And I figure I'm in this situation where there's probably a couple players that might go, how do I write a song? Well, my ideas are pretty simple. They're not difficult. I mean, I love the fact, that guitar players could probably learn my songs pretty easy. Because they're
awesome.
You know, I love the fact that someone could probably get on, learn my songs and have fun with them. That's great. And they're not difficult songs.
Look,
you know, the last song on the EP. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. No. It's the lag, unfortunately. So, yeah. Sorry if it seems. We're being rude. People in the chat watching us, but yeah. Look. I think it's an interesting process because I've never written a song in my life. You know, I just play songs and riffs and play in cover bands. So I always admire someone that can write a song. And when you look at some of the legends that we love, the Beatles, McCartney and Lennon and Jagger and Richards and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Brad Cook, it's something that let's be serious. It's something that not everybody has, I think, the ability to do. And the fact that you've just given us some insights and shared with us how you write a song's amazing. It starts off with a riff, because that's what John Lennon said. A couple of songs started off when he was a Beatle. It just started off with a riff. And so you're echoing some of these things that we've read, and it's pleasing and cool to hear. I'm just going to do a bit of a shout out. We've got Robo Master Switch in the chat saying hi. A very good friend of the channel, Johnny Bean, saying hi. Is there anyone else that's jumped in? That's pretty much it. So we always appreciate the comments, and it's really cool that you've spent some time with us. You want to come back and hang out with Simon and I in a month's time? You going to be around? You want to jump in on our late show, which is I'll share with you that time slot, and hopefully you can make some time, Brad, and jump on and just have a chat with some other friends of ours who would love to hear your story. And we can just continue the chat in another 4 weeks if you're around. Is that cool?
Would love to. Yeah, mate. No, would love to, mate. Would love to. I appreciate the invite, and I really want to connecting with more people of what I'm doing, which is obviously, I do the music for myself, but it's great when people connect. I love that. I love it when people connect with what I'm doing, because you write for yourself, but in the back of your mind, when you've written something, you go, I hope people like this. So I'll just say one more thing quickly in relation to the Beatles. It's funny you mentioned that, because I've got a whiteboard of my songs, to fix what this, that, and on the top of it, across the top, I had "What would the Beatles do?" at the top. And the reason I did that was because I remember reading somewhere once that the Beatles wrote for the song. They tried not to outdo each other. They never tried to compete in a sense. They were constructive criticism. They had constructive criticism against each other for their songs, and they appreciated that. But each other, I'm talking about. But for myself, I had no one to bounce that off, so I needed that there to remind me to kick my ass. Not comparing my music to the Beatles at all, because I think no one can write songs as good as the Beatles. But it kept me in check a bit, because I thought, I'm going to keep my songs as songs. I'm not going to try and show off as a guitar player. I'm not going to try and do something that a lot of people indulge in. And in the past, I've gone down that rabbit hole of being too indulgent with songs. And I think you've got to write music that connects with people on all levels. So the Beatles were the best at doing that. And that's why I love how you brought the Beatles up in that conversation. And I had to just elaborate on that. So there you go. What would the Beatles do?
I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because you know there's a book here that I've got, the songwriting secrets of the Beatles, that I've been going through in my leisure over the last 4 or 5 years. It's just fascinating. It's just fascinating, and maybe we can talk about this live when you're on a show with Simon and I, because Simon's just said in the chat he'd love to do a live show with you too. He's my co-host, so it'll be cool to talk to you a little bit more and get a little bit more nerdy about that, because the chord structures behind a song, and finding a word to fit that chord structure, and that whole mechanics that the Beatles did, and not necessarily saying anything with the song. It was just more about the tonal effect. And then this other song that they were writing, well, this was the song that they were saying something. This is the song that's got a meaning in it. So yeah, fascinating stuff. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you more about that, Brad, if that's cool.
Of course, more than happy to.
Cool. All right, my friend. So if anybody hasn't already subscribed to Brad's YouTube channel, please do. If you guys haven't checked out his music on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, or Titan, please do. How about this? Support him. Buy some merch off him too. He's got some t-shirts. He's got a t-shirt there. I'm going to put him on. I'm going to present him. So there he is there with the BC with the wings. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and get a t-shirt. So let's help him with getting some merch. It's all on his website. Yeah, we'll get Brad back. If you guys think that what we've said tonight has been interesting, please share us on social media. Get Brad out there. Let's help him. Let's do the best we can and get some people listening to his music.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just say goodbye to everybody in the chat. Thank you for hanging out with us. Brad is on record saying that he's going to come back in 4 weeks' time and spend a couple of hours with Simon and I. So we'll look forward to that. And yeah, there's a couple of guys that would love to see you on our late show. There's a guy called Arvin that hangs out with us. and a couple of other guys as well. So stay safe, everybody. Don't go anywhere, Brad. I'm going to end the show. I'm going to give you the last word because you know, it was your show. So thank you for hanging out with us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I appreciate everyone checking this out. And go add me on Instagram, add me on Facebook, the Brad Cook Music. They're the two platforms I use. And my YouTube channel, go and subscribe. And just go to my website. If you can't find any of those links or anything like that, they're all on my website, brad-cook.com.